Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to the Mental Wellness Wake Up Show, a weekly podcast where growth minded, creative people come to learn best practices from both spirituality and psychology that create lasting well being. I am your host, mental wellness expert, improvised acting teacher, therapist, and coach, Dawn McMillan. Let's get to it. What I want to talk about today is the Enneagram. So, if this is your first time here, first of all, thank you. There's so many things that you could be doing with your time. So, your willingness to share it here right now is a true gift. So, thank you. Second of all, we're talking about the Enneagram, which is a wisdom system most commonly used as a personality typing system that includes 9 basic ways of relating to the world, 9 basic personality types. And my thesis is that we human beings are way too fascinating, way too faceted to be limited to just one anything. And that what we're going to use the Enneagram for is as a way of integrating all the different aspects of ourselves. I believe that we are made up of so many different parts, and each of those parts belongs, and each of those parts has something to offer us. So, as we're seeking to grow, as we're seeking to become the best version of ourselves, we can take a look at each Enneagram type for 2 purposes. One is to identify ourselves. 2, to understand our families and friends and colleagues better. But 3 is to look for ways to take the best of that personality type and see if we can't add it to our own suite of behaviors and resources. So we're really about the big picture. We're really about making a circle whole, not dividing ourselves up into little parts or little numbers, but thinking about things in terms of being holistic. And that's where we are headed. So we will begin with Enneagram 8. But wait, you might be saying to yourself, aren't the numbers 1 through 9? Why not start with number 1? And here's why. The Enneagram is divided into 3 segments called centers of intelligence. So there are 3 different centers of intelligence: the gut or body center, the heart center, and the head center. So the gut center is comprised of Enneagram 8, 9, and 1. So we're going to begin with the beginning of the gut center and not the first number. I don't fully understand, although I'm sure there are people who do, why we don't number the Enneagram differently once you discover the gut centers. I suspect it has something to do with one's being the perfectionist. But I digress. Because 8 is the beginning of the gut center, we are going to start with Enneagram 8s. So what do I mean by centers of intelligence? So you may hear me clicking around and flipping papers because I am looking at notes. So for centers of intelligence, we're basically just looking at a primary orientation for engaging with the world. So people in the gut center or the body center tend to go with their gut. They're more instinctual. They're more centered in the body. And people in this center have a complex relationship to anger. So the first center, 8, 9s, and 1s, are our body or gut center. And it's that notion of being really grounded in the body and moving with a lot from instinct. 2s, 3s, and 4s are in the heart center. So heart-centered people tend to go with emotions. They tend to be led by their feelings. And 2, 3s, and 4s have a complex relationship with shame. Then we get to our 5s, 6s, and 7s. So 5, 6, and 7 are considered the head or the intellectual center. So these are the people who are living life from the brain, living life from the neck up for the most part, think their way through life. 5, 6, and 7s think their way through life. And 5, 6, and 7s have a complex relationship with fear. So those are the intellectual centers. Pardon all the noise. If you can hear it, that's just people coming and going. I'm consistently beginning to believe I need to build a studio, but we'll get to that. Okay. So we have the intelligence centers: gut, heart, and mind, or head, actually, not mind, head. So we're starting with the Enneagram 8s. So Enneagram 8s are called the asserter, the boss, or the challenger. So 8s tend to be motivated by the need to be self-reliant and strong, and to avoid feeling weak or dependent. So 8s are really interested in control. They are not interested in controlling others or situations, or even though they will if it's required, but they are primarily interested in not being controlled. So they're not wandering around just looking for power in order to have power, but in order to not be controlled, they will step into a position of power if needed. So 8s, at their best, are direct, authoritative, loyal, energetic, earthy, protective, self-confident. Now, the 8s that I know personally, if they believe in something, they will fight tooth and nail for that something. Specifically, those 8s who are involved in causes, like, you definitely want them on your side. There's some people who believe that Martin Luther King Jr. and Mother Teresa were Enneagram 8s. Like, they are, warriors for the causes that they believe in. They are loyal. So if your friend is an 8 and they are loyal to you, they will fight by your side. Like, I always think of Enneagram 8s as like these warriors with sword straps to their back, right? And if you're ever in a pinch, you want an 8, because they definitely have your back. So what's great about being an 8 is, or what 8s like about themselves often, is being independent and self-reliant, being able to take charge, being courageous and straightforward and honest. And in some systems, 8s are considered to have the sin, I hope you can hear the air quotes, of lust. Lust meaning a deep attachment and passion towards physical experience. It's not necessarily sexual. It's just really wanting physical stimulation. Like, you're very likely to find 8s jumping out of perfectly good planes. So that's like, 8s are just really sort of seizing the day often. 8s can be very supportive and empowering and protective of those close to them. And as I implied before, if there's a just cause, they will put themselves on the front lines to stand up for that. 8s' weaknesses they can be a little overwhelming. They can be very intense. And for some other types, like, that intensity can be a little off-putting. The thing to remember is that that's just them being them. They just feel things very deeply and are very passionate about the things that they believe. And then sometimes they can put way too much pressure on themselves, ignore their own pain, and just keep pushing through regardless of what it costs them. So being an 8 has so many advantages, so much going for it. Now, I said that the gut centers have a complex relationship with anger. 8's relationship to anger is usually to act it out. There are other types that will suppress it, ignore it, or passive aggressive it. Your average 8 will aggressive it. Like, if an 8 is riled up, you will know it. And the thing to keep in mind about your average Enneagram 8 is that fierce passion is always in service to something worthwhile, unless they're an unevolved 8, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not It's not anger for no reason. It's usually anger at a wrong. It's anger at a wrong. An unevolved Enneagram 8 will see wrongs everywhere and just walk through life angry. But if you're in the presence of an Enneagram 8 who's riled up, reframe that as just real and true passion. Okay, so that's a bird's eye view of the Enneagram 8. Passionate, strong-willed, loyal, willing to go head on into danger if it's for someone they love or something that they believe in. How can we learn from the Enneagram 8? How can we learn from the Enneagram 8? So I want to go back to that list of some of the 8's best qualities. 8's are direct, authoritative, loyal, energetic, earthy. For that, I read grounded. You know, sometimes when I think earthy, I think of people who smell of patchouli and wear bamboo clothes. But I think more we're talking about like grounded. And the gift of the 8 is that they're actually in their body. They're actually in their body, unlike 5, 6, and 7s who are sometimes not even in their heads, sort of floating 5 feet above. So 8's are grounded, protective, and self-confident. So in order to integrate that Enneagram 8 energy, we have to begin to be willing to notice and process anger. So many of us, especially those of us who are socialized and assigned female, we think anger is bad. What a healthy Enneagram 8 does is take that anger, acknowledge it, and use it as fuel to take action. So our challenge for this week, as we begin to think, how can I integrate and support my inner Enneagram 8 is, in what ways can I get in touch with my passion? In what ways can I be more in my body? That could look like going to yoga or Tai Chi. That could look like doing breath work. That could look like punching a boxing bag. That could look like doing a cold dip. That could look like just giving yourself little pets on your body. How can I be more in my body? How can I notice those kernels of anger within myself and use them as fuel? How can I be more direct in my communication? Can I mean what I say and say what I mean? So as you go through this week, maybe listen to this last few minutes a couple of times or jot down some key questions that you want to use in your morning routine to begin to unearth that Enneagram 8 within you as you move through space so that we can add that beautiful, courageous willingness that Enneagram 8s bring to life in ourselves. And if my description of an Enneagram 8 made you think, oh, I think someone in my life is an Enneagram 8, man, appreciate the heck out of them. It can be rough being an Enneagram 8, especially for Enneagram 8s who are women. People are not always as receptive to direct, forthcoming, passionate women as they are to men with the same personality type. So your Enneagram 8, if they love you hard. Never take that for granted. Never take them for granted. All right. I have to, at this point, do something important. And that is to remind you that regardless of what your Enneagram type is or is not, you are amazing. You are like a smorgasbord of awesome and dopeness. You, just as you are in this moment at this time, are whole, perfect, and complete. And you are worthy and deserving of a life so remarkable that you wake up with a grin on your face every day. Thanks for being here. I am so honored that you share time with me. If you've listened this far, then something here was of value to you. Would you please be a friend of the podcast and share it with at least one other person? The podcast is available on most platforms, including YouTube, and I need your help to get the word out. So please like, subscribe, and share, and a 5-star review on iTunes would be chef's kiss. Thank you so much. See you next time.